We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insight, new style, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Tuesday, August 26th here in Seoul. I'm Isoo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Ki Kim.
Happy Tuesday!
Happy Tuesday! And also Cheska's with us.
Happy Tuesday, everyone.
Happy Tuesday!
Yay.
And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So today, we're continuing our special coverage to commemorate the Korea-US Summit. And to celebrate this important occasion, we'll be focusing on the many forms of exchange that are actively taking place between South Korea and the United States. From education and work opportunities to culture, community, even commemorative days, these exchanges highlight just how deeply connected the two countries have become. And on today's show, we'll take a closer look at what's driving these exchanges, the experiences of people on both sides, and where this growing relationship may be headed in the future. And among the many areas of exchange we see between Korea and the US, education has long been at the forefront. So to begin our discussion today, let's talk about education exchange first. So what's driving the trend of US students choosing to study in Korea, Ki?
Sure. Recently, Loteria, the hamburger franchise from Korea, opened its store in the United States, and it actually drew a long line of customers.
Wow.
Think of Shake Shack or Gordon Ramsay's burger shop opening here in Korea with a long line, and they're super expensive. And at the same time, we're seeing a growing number of Korean restaurants and coffee shops across major American cities.
Yes.
And this trend signals a rising interest in Korea among Americans, and that sort of enthusiasm is reflected in education as well. The number of U.S. students coming to Korea has surged dramatically. So if you take a look at the screen now, the number of U.S. students coming to Korea has surged dramatically. And according to Korea University and UIC of Yonsei, compared to early 2000s, the figure has increased by nearly eightfold. We only had some 800 U.S. students here in early 2000s, but now we have a whopping 5,900 or nearing 6,000 now. So the reasons behind this is quite telling. Analysts point to the global spread of the Korean wave, or Hallyu, which has fueled interest in Korean popular culture. And alongside this, English language programs available at universities across Asia have expanded, making Korea an increasingly attractive destination for American students who want both cultural immersion and academic opportunity as well.
So I actually studied in the International Studies department in college, so I was able to see firsthand how there's a good number of international schools here in Korea. But I think part of that is because these days especially, there's a good number of English classes, and then people can easily adjust to it as well.
I mean, you walk around the street, then you see more foreign students coming in, and a lot of them are students as well.
I agree. So we know that a large number of Korean students go to the US every year, but just how big is that community, Cheska, and how does that number stack up against students from other countries?
I think the educational exchange has always been quite vibrant between South Korea and the States. And I also do college consulting, so I'm at the forefront of seeing how many students want to go to study in these top colleges in the United States. And now the number, as of today, rack up to about 40,000 Koreans in the American colleges, and that is third largest after India and China. But what's interesting is when adjusted per capita, we actually are pretty high even among those countries that have a higher population. So we know that Koreans are very excited and have always been at the forefront of educational exchange. I mean, Korea is known for education, right? But one of the things that has been happening is that because of Trump administration, there have been a lot of visa rules and restrictions. So I also have some students who are either planning on studying in the States or who are in undergrad that are seriously considering even taking a gap year at the moment. Yeah.
So since you do college consulting, I'm sure you have some inside information on college admissions and the trends kind of associated with it.
Yeah.
So what are some of the main reasons why they want to study US, and what kind of subjects are they studying?
Oh, that's a really good question. The subject matter, the major, has definitely diversified a lot, because I think now, compared to the previous generation, our generation, or the kids studying right now, students studying right now, they're really looking to expand their opportunities and educational vision. So they want a global platform, a globally educated professors and peers to really inspire them, and they aspire to bigger goals. Yeah.
That's so interesting. So both of you have also studied in the US as well. What was your experience like, to start with you, Ki? Looking back, what were some of the most rewarding aspects and some of the challenges that you faced?
let's see, how many years ago? When I went to the
Are you sure you
States,
can do it with two hands? Don't you need like toes?
No, I need toes. That was because that was September 2001. So first off, there were some prejudice. People didn't really know Korea back then. Many of my friends back then thought big companies like Samsung or LG belonged to Japan. And then 9/11 happened. So they're looking at me very suspiciously as I was a tiny boy from Asia, specifically near North Korea under student visa, because the hijackers were under student visa, and they didn't really understand why I was studying during homeroom time or during the break. Well, I was there to study, and it was an obvious thing. But then kids, why would you study during the break time, right? Those kind of thing, we didn't understand each other, and I was obviously looking for a different opportunity to see the bigger world and learn different thoughts and culture. But back then, they thought I came from a very rough, poor country, and seeking for a better condition. And I tried to change their aspects and became pretty good friends with a lot of them. And I tried really hard to mingle with them. So towards the end, when I was graduating, I got some scholarship with an award. The award is for someone who made a big contribution to the community, meaning I just had a lot of
That's
friends.
what usually means in high school, yes.
And
any award you get is based on popularity,
exactly.
yes.
And I still remember as the only foreign student to have that award for the past 50 or 60 years.
That's amazing.
School history.
It's amazing that you were able to overcome these difficulties in the beginning. Now you have a lot of friends there.
Well, I'm all over the place, and I try to interact with many different people. So I guess that's one of the reasons, I got that award as well. And then in the States, just like Korea, we have this yearbook thing when you graduate, and there's a signature ceremony where your friends would write small letters or notes. Or
at the end of the year,
end of the year.
pass around your yearbook.
I think I still hold a record of that too.
That's
with
amazing.
Like 400 students signing my yearbook. So if I had a chance, I'll bring my yearbook next time to show you.
Show us all the signs you've got. So Jessica, I know you also spent time living in the U.S. before studying there. So what was that experience like for you, and how did you first end up moving there? And was there anything that kind of surprised you about life in the States?
I was definitely a typical immigrant family, so none of my parents spoke English, and I went when I was a sophomore in high school, so I was kind of all in the academics because I knew the kind of sacrifices my parents were making for the three of us. I did not go through something as tragic as what Ki went through, but there were definitely moments when I had to prove myself because I was from a country that not many people knew of back then. So there was a lot of, pressure on myself, and I do definitely remember one of the most surprising things was how big America was. And I'm not just talking in terms of physical scale, but in terms of like when we were talking about visions and dreams, people were talking in global scale instead of their cities or county. So I thought that was something that really stuck with me. And even now, when I think of my career or family or any plans, I think of a much bigger scale because of those experiences.
So I guess studying in the US, being kind of driven, I also met a lot of Korean Americans there. And I think they kind of talked the same thing you did, like because they were there, and then the parents also had to rely on them a lot because of the language barrier they just talked about. Yeah. But I think that also, I'm guessing that helped you kind of like make big goals for your future as well.
Yep, you just have to grow faster.
Get more mature. So beyond education, many Koreans or those of Korean descent are living in the US for other reasons such as work or maybe marriage. So what factors are contributing to this rise in Koreans making the US their home, Ki?
Well, of course, education, a lot of Hallyu, but in the States, there's already a large Korean community, many in parents and grandparent generations. First came in pursuit of these so-called American dreams, and others arrived through study abroad programs or professional opportunities. And we can't really overlook another trend, that is international marriages between, especially American men and Korean women. They have also been quite common nowadays.
So we've talked about Koreans heading to the US, but of course this exchange goes both ways. So how many Americans are coming to Korea, not just as tourists, but perhaps to actually live, work, or study here?
So according to the International Migration Report from Statistics of Korea last year, apparently 23,000 Americans are here in South Korea. Now that's also the third largest by nationality. And Sujin, as you mentioned, a lot of the people that are coming are more of a younger professional or younger foreigners, which kind of allows us to speculate that perhaps the people that are coming are actually not only just coming for travels, but perhaps seeking work or maybe even settling down.
I think it's really promising that a lot of young people are coming.
Exactly.
That shows
yeah.
how strong, I guess, Korea's image is abroad these
Right,
days.
right, exactly.
So to hear more about how these exchanges play out on the ground, we'll be speaking with someone who's from a different country who's currently studying here in Korea. And that conversation will take place right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Narae, a student from the US who's currently studying at a university here in Korea. So hi Narae, thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Hello, I'm glad to be here.
Glad to have you. So out of all the countries, so why did you choose to study in Korea?
It was definitely a very difficult decision to do because obviously Korea is so far away from the States. But I ultimately decided to choose Korea because I felt it was the right mix of culture, safety, and opportunity. I've always been interested in Korean culture as many, like growing up, I've always listened to K-pop and K-dramas. Uh, but I really wanted to experience it firsthand. And while doing some research, the universities here are very strong with great educators, and compared to other countries, it's at a very reasonable price. And UIC specifically offers a variety of majors, all in English. And I was really looking for a program where it provided a degree that was valid everywhere. Plus, Korea is so convenient, like from the transportation to the food, like everything just runs so smoothly, and there's always something to do. That's what I love the most about Korea. Like whether it's cultural events, nightlife, or just exploring new neighborhoods, it was the best fit for me.
Okay, so well, having lived in Korea for a while now, what differences stand out to you compared to the U.S., where you're from, in particular when it comes to the education system and work opportunities?
I come from a very well, not small city, but it's a lot of there's a lot of Hispanic, like the Hispanic community is very big. But I think my high school specifically was very didn't have a lot of diversity in the programs that I was in. So what I loved about Korea was very international. Like I got to meet people from all over the world. I have friends like from all seven continents at this point. And the events and activities is what surprised me the most. Like it's very, very different, but very fun in their own way. Like I think the biggest examples are the university festivals that are very popular even internationally now. I think they bring people and students together in such a cool way. And as for work opportunities, I don't have first-hand experiences, unfortunately, but from my friends, I can tell that it's more competitive than in the US to apply for jobs, and the process it's more lengthy, and you just have to put in more work. But I think it's a great way to push people for them to stay sharp and disciplined. I think that if I were to work here, it would definitely be a new challenge for me, despite living here for so long. But I would love to experience it in the future, hopefully.
I'm genuinely happy that you're having a great time here in South Korea. What advice or tips would you actually give to someone who is considering coming to Korea?
I think my biggest advice is not to be afraid of culture shocks or possible negative experience. There's so much content available out there of so many different people and their experiences, but it's important to just take them as a grain of salt because your experience will be unique to you and you will have a great time here. I think the most important thing is building a support system because of course your family is gonna be so far away, so making friends with both local people and other international like expats living here will make the transition much smoother and will make the experience more rewarding.
I'm glad to hear that you had a good support system and you were able to meet people from various different countries. And also congrats on finishing your last semester here.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so
Thank
sad
you.
I will leave, but I have to come back.
We hope to see you soon then. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank
you.
you for having me. Have a good day.
So we just heard from a young person from the US about sharing her experience studying and living in Korea, and her insights really highlight the opportunities, challenges, and cultural differences that come with pursuing education or work abroad. And it's a great reminder of how factors that impact broader connections between our countries can also influence our personal experiences. And so far, we've discussed exchanges that happen through education, work, and even marriages. But of course, it wouldn't be complete without looking at cultural exchange, which plays a huge role in connecting our countries. So, Ki, could you share some examples of cultural exchange that we see today between Korea and the US?
Sure. The cooperation between the U.S. and Korea isn't just limited to student performances or cultural exchanges. More recently, we've seen a deeper institutional link, the opening of the Korean Interparliamentary Exchange Center in Washington. As I mentioned before, there are growing numbers of Korean American joining parliamentary, the government facilities, and the launch of the Korea and U.S. Parliamentary Friendship Association. And what's significant is that this body just goes beyond symbolic goodwill. It's now serving as a central platform for substantive policy cooperation between the two very different legislatures.
And these, like you said, institutions provide concrete platforms for ongoing policy collaboration. So like you said, in Washington, the Korea Interparliamentary Exchange Center, launched last year, serves as a permanent base for dialogue and policy exchange between Korea's National Assembly and the U.S. Congress. And here in Seoul, the bipartisan Korea-U.S. Parliamentary Friendship Association, formed earlier this year, is strengthening ties with its American counterparts. And interesting enough, both are already active. The Korea Interparliamentary Exchange Center in Washington has been already hosting expert roundtables and publishing policy briefs on trade and security issues, which are both very important points these days. And meanwhile, the Korea's bipartisan Parliamentary Friendship Association, which has more than 160 lawmakers, is setting up regular exchanges with the U.S. Congress already. And so I've also heard that the U.S. now recognizes several commemorative days related to Korea. And could you share some examples, explain what these days mean, Cheska?
Yeah, absolutely. So back when I was living in New York, we had something called the 한인의 날, so Korean Day, but it was more of a celebratory day for the Koreans living in that county or the city to kind of get together. And I remember distinctively because as a high schooler, I loved getting such great food on those days. But now we've taken it much further and it has become actually a United States recognized commemorative days. I've heard now we have Kimchi Day. We even have Yugansun Day, which to me is quite meaningful because we're now celebrating the independence freedom fighter that is being recognized in the States. And also the New York Broadway has a Korean parade. They host a parade for the New York Koreans. So that is something that is also very celebratory and people can watch also. But on top of that, I just want to add, because Ki was also talking about this when he was reflecting multiple years back into history of when he first landed
Way
back when, once upon a time, when he landed not on a boat but on a plane.
Yes.
In America. But it's very, very monumental to know and to realize that these days are now being celebrated for Koreans because it feels like Korean as a society and as a citizen are now being celebrated as member of America. And I think that's quite meaningful, to be honest. Yeah.
And like how you said, you actually went to these Korean days in New York, and you can probably see firsthand like how much it has grown as well, right?
You're absolutely right. Thank you for pointing that out, because when I was going back to these 한인의 날 when I was in high school, it was only Koreans that came, not because other people couldn't come, but because the community was so small and Korea wasn't as recognized. It was like a small party for Koreans who were living in America. Come together, share good food, share warmth. Yeah. But now, when you go to these Korean Day, Kimchi Day, Yugansun Day, or Korean American Day that celebrates Korean immigrants, you actually see a variety of international people coming together to celebrate and eat Korean food.
Which makes it all the more meaningful, right?
So much more meaningful.
Great,
yes.
because when I was in high school back then,
Yeah.
only time that I got to have Korean food was when I go to Korean church every Sunday.
Yeah, something
Right.
like
So,
that,
yeah,
yes.
that was the only occasion. We didn't have this fancy like Korean day where everybody come and just celebrates. Nowadays, some of the big Korean days, they even invite Korean celebrities there, so it's
That's
getting bigger
true.
and bigger.
Yeah.
It's
very
definitely really large scale now. So given all the examples we've discussed today, from education, career exchanges to cultural programs and commemorative observances, why do you think interactions between Korea and the US have become so active in recent years? What factors do you see driving this growing connection key?
Well, the diplomatic relationship between Korea and the United States go way back. It's more than a century, and since the Korean War, when the two countries forged their alliance, the bond between those two remained strong for decades. And over time, the Korean population in America has grown as well, giving rise to second and third generation Korean Americans. And as more Korean American politicians, like I said, emerged on the US stage, we're also seeing a deeper fusion and exchange of these two great countries.
So Cheska, what else do you think has led to this growing connection?
We have to talk about the worldwide connected platforms. I mean, we're talking about YouTube, OTT, anything, any platform that allows to watch, consume, or even share content or information timelessly, borderlessly, and seamlessly. I think that really enabled us for all over the world to be connected. And I kind of want to bring up my own little anecdote, because when I was living in New Zealand, and I hope some people can relate, I had to use the phone wire connection to plug it into the computer, and it would make that beep, beep, beep noise when it was connecting. Exactly. And the reason that I bring it up is, imagine, just compare the amount of information that you can exchange given with the time of life that we live in right now versus what it was. And I think that makes people feel much safer and more knowledgeable enough to come to Korea, not just for travels, but even to settle down. Yeah.
So as we wrap up, looking ahead, where do you think Korea-US exchanges and cooperation should go from here? How can both countries further strengthen their relationship?
Well, it's basically understanding, because we come from different backgrounds, different cultures. So at the end of the day, what matters is building a partnership for sustainable growth together, and that is understanding, I think.
I agree. Do you have anything to add to this, Jessica?
I would say culture, because we talked
a big
about
one.
culture a lot today. I think nowadays Korea is definitely, finding its place on the map, and I think respect and understanding of the culture between and exchanges between the two countries would definitely enable future growth as well.
I agree. So from education and career opportunities to cultural celebrations and community ties, the exchanges between Korea and the United States reveal the depth of this partnership. They're not just symbolic. They represent real connections that shape how people live, learn, and work together. And all of these connections build bridges between Korea and the US, making the relationship not just about governments and policies, but about everyday people. And as these exchanges continue to grow, they point to an even stronger relationship between the two countries in the years ahead. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. But News Gen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Big thanks to Ki
Thank you.
for coming in, and also Cheska.
Pleasure with mine. Thank you.
And thanks to our viewers. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you have the best day. We are News Generation.